Expectations are the breeding ground of disappointment. If you have little expectations, you have little disappointments. If you have great expectations, you have great disappointments. Whether it's anger and or sadness or whatever, we develop expectations, and when those expectations are not met, then we get angry about it, or we get discouraged about it. You're a young person, you go into a job, and that job is a big disappointment because you expected it to be like this. If you want to cut down on the disappointments in your life, just take a step back, take a deep breath, and temper your expectations. Because life is life, and people are people. And if you approach a new friendship, a new relationship, and you have no expectations, then when it falls apart, you have no disappointments. You're a young person, you go into a job, and that job is a big disappointment. The reason that job is such a disappointment is because you developed, out of thin air, you developed expectations for that job. You know, you're 17, 18, you get your first job flipping hamburgers, and you think this is what it's going to be like. You never experienced before, you don't know it, but you expect this is what this has to be like. I'm going to be free. I'm going to get my own money. I'm going to be working all day with a bunch of other young people my age. And I'm finally moving out into freedom. I'm moving out into adulthood. It's not what you thought. And the disappointment is keen because the expectations were high, knowing why you would expect those certain things. Your job is a disappointment because you expected it to be like this. If you want to cut down on the disappointments in your life, just take a step back, take a deep breath, and temper your expectations. Because life is life, and people are people. You go to college, and you pick a degree, and you spend 4 years slogging after that degree, and you get out, and you expect to get a wonderful job. And it doesn't happen. Because real world doesn't follow along the path of expectations. People do not follow along the path of expectations. There's a lot of people out there in the world. If you actually step back and analyze and look at your depressions, look at your lack of ambition, look at your lack of willingness to enter into new relationships, look at your unwillingness to go back into church, unwillingness to trust people, unwillingness to just to get back on the horse again, unwillingness to go back to the gym. A lot of it is, you'll sit down and sort through it. It was unrealistic expectations, ran smack dab into reality. And it fathered a bunch of disappointment. All right? You can't be 40-pound overweight, 48 years old, and expect to go to the gym and keep eating like you eat and walk out of there in 2 weeks looking like the Wolverine. Not realistic expectations. Okay? You can't be extremely overweight and out of shape and not exercise and spend 3 weeks on Jenny Craig and come away looking like some Hollywood model. Your expectations are not realistic. And when unrealistic expectations run into real world reality, you wind up with crushing disappointment.